everybody. Welcome to another Making It Monday. Doesn't it come round quickly? And it seems to me that you're getting loads and loads of projects really super quick, but it is only the one a week and you don't have to make them all. Sometimes something really sings out at you and you think, yeah, I really want to make that. And other things you think, oh, maybe I'll make that another time. But whatever you do, just make sure that you download the pattern and save it, because you know after 30 days, if you don't download it, it's gone forever. So welcome. It's just so lovely to see you all. So tonight we are live on YouTube, we are live on Facebook, and we're also live on Twitter. I know. Let's see how far we get with it. Let's see if it doesn't crash on us. make sure we can at least get through the next 45 minutes or so. Anyway, I hope you've all had a lovely weekend. Obviously, here in the UK, it is a bank holiday Monday. And I think lots of people last week said, oh, are you going to be doing this on bank holiday? Well, yeah. Because quite honestly, there's not much else we can do, is there? I know that you might have, I was just seeing Judy from Sydney. Welcome, Judy. Yeah, so you might well have gone away somewhere at the weekend for the day or for an afternoon. Maybe you've gone to the seaside. Maybe you've gone for a lovely walk in the countryside. Maybe you've gone a little bit further afield and you've met some friends and relatives in their garden or in a park somewhere. But I hope that you've had a nice time. I hope that you've had a good weekend. And even if you didn't get out to see your friends and family, that doesn't matter, because there's always another time. And everything is changing from one day to another, isn't it? It's I don't know if we're getting a little bit anxious about doing normal things anymore now. It's quite fun. We mustn't get negative about it. We've done a cracking job. Everybody, wherever you live, you've all done a cracking job. And I know it's been tough, but sewing along with me every Monday night has been a real tonic. Not for you guys, for me, because it means I have to focus my mind every week to producing a new pattern for you, to getting it on the website, to letting you know it's there, and to also prepare for this evening. And it usually takes me about an hour to set it all up, to make sure that I'm ready for you, and then of course it's all guns blazing and we go ahead and we do the live. Now if we fall out of Facebook, I was going to say, I was trying to get the words in my head. If Facebook drops out like it did last week, I know that we were live still on YouTube, okay? So I'm going to keep an eye on things. So if it does drop out on Facebook, I will continue, because you can always hop over to YouTube and watch it there. Hopefully that'll work. I have no idea. We'll wait and see. So let's have a look. So we've got Eddie from Texas. She's on YouTube. We've got Jane as well from YouTube. We've got Rosary on Facebook from Texas. Gosh, we got lots of people from all over the place. Obviously, Burleson, Texas. That's from Vicky. That's from YouTube. So gosh, we're all over the place today. Went up to see our son in London to open Christmas presents. This is from Mel. It's a little late, or it's a little early, Mel. Did anybody tell you? Or is this perhaps the first time you've been able to do that? Well, what fun that you still have them to open up. I suppose he could have given them to other folk, couldn't he? You know, as a little sort of thank you or something. Ooh. No, maybe not. He saved them especially for his mummy, I know. So yeah, so let's have a look. We've got somebody from Illinois, Kansas, Idaho, oh, Scotland, Bonnie, Scotland. A bit cold up there today, I think, Anne. So yeah, so we got lots and lots of people watching, and it's a case of we must get on and start stitching, because you know what? I will get told off. There's those people out there that don't like me talking. Can you imagine doing a Facebook and YouTube live and not talking? Be so boring. Of course, I could have some lovely music instead of me. No, I prefer to chat. Because you know what? I've always got something to say, and so have you. And if I catch sight of something interesting in the comments, I shall repeat it. So if you did something exciting, now I'm not going to say this, Wendy. Mississauga, Ontario, near Toronto. Been there. So that, yeah, I haven't been there. I saw it from a distance. Close enough, isn't it? So if you say something interesting, I will pick it up and I shall tell everybody what you said, unless of course they can see on the comments. Now don't forget to comment and say hello, and don't forget to say hello to everybody else that's around you. And if somebody says something really fun or exciting, you answer them and make a friend, because I tell you what, loads of people have made friends on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and Instagram and all those places over the last 12 months, and it's been really fun. So we've got to keep it up. We mustn't drop our guard. We've got to keep it up. Anyway, let's crack on, because you know I get told off. It's not, you don't tell me off because you're lovely guys, but some other people do. So I have to be good. Anyway, project 21. Oh my gosh, this is such a lovely, easy project. My goodness me. I think everybody who watches this, who is on YouTube, who's on Facebook, wherever you are, you will be able to make this. And this is the perfect project for somebody that has just started stitching. It's also the perfect project for maybe an older child to stitch as well, because it's just the two rectangles, a little bit of folding. And I'm going to let you in a secret. I actually glued mine. So I could glue mine tonight. I might glue some of it, just so you can see. And then maybe I'll do some hand stitching on the other. I don't know, I haven't decided. We'll decide as we go along. But anyway, it's Nellie, so you probably can't see her very well. Look, I printed her letter size. And look, these are the things I wanted to talk to you about. So it says, have you had a nice weekend? Tick. Diana, need to talk about that later. The seaside, kind of talked about that, and holidays. So I did myself a bit of a crib sheet. I'd forgotten I'd written on there. See, now you know my secrets. But I printed this and I didn't check my printer. It was stuck at letter size, and obviously I'm in the UK and using A4. So if you're in the UK, just check your sizing on your printer before you go printing. I mean, to be perfectly honest, this one doesn't have a pattern, so you're not missing out on much really. But go and check it, unlike me, who just gung-ho printed it out. So we're going to follow the pattern as best I can. Now you'll notice on the front now it says produced and edited by Kath Morgan, and she's my lovely lady. She's my lovely lady who proofreads all my patterns and keeps me on an even keel. And she wrote this one. I gave her the pictures. And she wrote it. So well done, Kath. It's absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. Keep me sane. And anyway, so there we go. Well, in fact, I was going to open it out to make sure I follow the same as you, because you might well be stitching along tonight, which would be smashing. Oh, Cheryl from New Zealand. Hello. Shirley says she's still got Christmas presents to give. We've got Tracy up in Yorkshire. She says she doesn't mind me talking. Well done, Tracy. I'll give you that £5 later. Chat as much as you like from Kelly. Do you know what? I think I would. I suppose I could take breath every now and again and slow down. When John edits my videos, he said, I just wish you'd just stop for a breath, because then I could cut it there. So sometimes I slow down and I have a gap. And he can see the gap in the audio. He can, yeah, I try. All right, let's have a look. Oh, Catherine, you live alone, so you like the chat. Listen, Catherine, say hello to the people that are above you and below you. In fact, you've got Abigail. As far as I can see, you've got Abigail up ahead of you, and she's my daughter. And she said, I went to my mum's today, and she had a picnic in the garden. She did. I was thinking I was going to have to provide stuff, and she had a great big bag. It was like a Mary Poppins bag, and everything was coming out, drinks and everything. So I was kind of made redundant. And I did say, did you want to stop in for a cuppa? And she said, oh, yes, that would be lovely. So obviously we opened the garden gate so she could come in. I said, get me a pint of milk, will you? So she said, yes, Mum, I will. Good girl, I said. So when she came, she brought me 4 pints. 4 pints. Thank you very much, Abigail. 4 pints of milk, right? Thinking I was going to make her a cup of tea. And she didn't want one. So I put the 4 pints, thank you, Abigail, in the freezer for another time, for an emergency. So thank you very much. Right. Shall we get started? So this is Nellie, absolutely glorious. There's a couple of things I want to talk to you about. First of all, there is no stabiliser or wadding in this. It doesn't need it, okay? Secondly, I use linen, which is just quite delicious. And if you can go whenever we can to a charity shop or a thrift shop and pick up maybe trousers or a jacket that's made of linen, please purchase it. You'll help the charity, but also you'll get the most gorgeous quality linen that you can cut up. And the reason I chose linen is because it's a little bit more sort of structured than just a regular quilting cotton. And it's also perfect for adding things like the lace here. I don't know if you can see it because we're a bit bright. Adding the lace, cotton lace, but also it's perfect for doing embroidery on. So if you're an embroiderer, you could add some flowers on here and really personalise it. You can add a little tie clasp if you want to. You could add a popper if you want to. I just wanted to keep it like a book that you could just open it up. It's got the 2 little pockets, both ends. There we go, 2 little pockets. I've got machine needles in this one, and we've got it filled with various things so you can decide what it's going to be used for. Now, a lady today said that she was going to make it bigger. In fact, I think she made it bigger to hold her sashiko needles, because obviously they're quite long, surprisingly. So maybe that's something you could do, is just to resize it a little bit. I probably wouldn't add any more pages. I think that's sufficient. Make another one if you need to have more needles stored away. But the other thing was, I didn't add felt. Now, I have seen a few that have been made with the felt inside, which is absolutely fine, and you often see needle cases with the felt. But because I did this in doubled up layer, 2 layers of linen, you've actually got 2 sides to it. So when you put the needle through, it doesn't come through to the other side. You've got 2 layers. So actually, I think personally it's a bit more practical. If you want to put felt in yours, please do. And do 4 pages, okay, instead of 2. And maybe that will work better for you. But that's the reason why, A, I didn't stabilise it, and B, I use linen, because it's got structure and texture and it's just too delicious. And of course it lends itself to things like cotton lace and beautiful cotton fabric that you might want to do some applique with. So there's lots of things you can do with it. Simple design, not taking that away from it, but you can make it yours and personalise it, put a monogram on it. Oh, you could do all sorts. It'd be wonderful. So this is what we're going to make. I've got it in a slightly different colour this evening. I've got a gorgeous sort of natural colour. Look at that, isn't it beautiful? And I've got a gorgeous sort of matching cotton lace as well. It's just absolutely delicious. So we're going to start. And when we look at the pattern, I should go straight to the side view so you can see. But when we go to the pattern, you'll be able to see the first thing we do is to apply the lace. And I'm going to show you how I would do that and how I would measure it, okay? Because in the pattern it says approximately 1.5 inches down from the top, okay? So we'll have a look at that. So we'll just switch over to the side view. There we go. And I'll get my front ready to rock and roll. Somebody's saying it's so cold. Snowy in Aberdeen and it's so cold. Oh, makes me shiver. Makes me shiver. We had a little bit of snow today in Suffolk in the UK, but it just went. It was just a few little, just little bits really. A flutter. That's what it was. So I've got my little wool mat there. I've got my cotton lace. Isn't it gorgeous? Look at that. I'm not sure if there's a right or a wrong. I don't know. I don't think it, often there isn't, is there? Sometimes there is. I'll stitch it that side, I think, anyway. So look, we want to just get our first piece. So we want one piece here, okay? There's the other piece, there's the other two pieces, and we'll just stick them over there for the moment. And we want to make sure that we get that lace in the right place. So if you kind of think about where 2 inches is going to be, where you're going to fold that up, you can kind of get it out the way. So you can think, oh yeah, okay, it's going to go about there. Do a rough estimate, okay? All I've done is roughly folded it there. Okay, so when I flip this over to, this would be the right side, and if you look at the one that I made, that lace is pretty much in the middle, so you might want to put it further down. So because we've folded our faux pocket, if you like, underneath, it kind of gives me a rough idea. So I could put it as low down as that, or I could obviously put it in the middle. But Kath has said in the instructions 1.5 inches down from the top. So you decide, So I'm going to pop it, sorry Kath, I'm going to pop it just a little bit further down like that. It's almost deliberate, which in some ways is not a bad thing, because it means that if you don't get it quite in the middle, because if you look at mine, it's not quite in the middle, okay, which might be perfectly fine. But if you're a perfectionist and you want that in the middle, then that's going to annoy you, isn't it? So let's deliberately take it off centre. Does that make sense to you? So the first thing we're going to do is to stitch this down, okay? And I don't know why I've brought my iron in. There's obviously a good reason. I'll give it a little iron, and then I'll know that I've actually done something with my iron. So, oh, I've lost a needle. Let's just get rid of that. So we're going to open that up. We're not going to stitch the pocket or anything. Open it up like that. And obviously you could pin it just to make sure it's in the right place. You know me and pins. I actually don't like them at all, but I do use them. So we've just pinned it, there we are, and we're just going to stitch down there, come back, and we're going to stitch that way. Now the only reason why I don't turn the corner and come back means that we could twist that. So I stop there, come back to here, and then I'm going to zoom across to the other side, okay? That's all I'm going to do. So hopefully my machine is on and you can see, and obviously you can see me in the front as well if you want to have a look at the front view. I'll just give you a little wave. There you go. So let's have a look. Oh, Anita says she's going to stitch along with me tonight. Oh, that would be amazing, Anita. Hopefully I won't go too fast. I like to keep it at a certain pace so everybody can keep up. And it's good fun when you do, and I love to see them make straight away, because in my Making It Monday Facebook group, we got excuse me, I think I've got a nut in my throat. We've got 1,600 members now, which is amazing, because it's only, what is it, 6 weeks old maybe? I'd have to count back. It's not very old. And yeah, so when I come off the live later on, I'll go onto the Facebook group, and by hook or by crook, they will have posted, you know, within minutes of the live ending, there will be posts on there showing everybody's makes. Now, isn't that absolutely gorgeous? June says she loves all the chatting. Thank you, June. Yeah, we all get along, don't we? We're all mates here. Kathleen says she loves the chatting. Linda says you're a joy to listen to. Thank you. I've been told I've got a very soothing voice. And there's, so we should tell you to breathe. Rhonda, listen, I've perfected the art of chatting and not breathing. Perfected it. So if we look at the pattern now, it'll show you that you're going to do right sides together with your piece of fabric. So there is the other piece. It's linen, so it doesn't matter which side, but if it did have a right or a wrong side, I'm looking at the right side. So if you've got a right side, you want to be looking at it. And then I've got the right side of my other piece, and that's going down, okay? Right sides together. Now, you could be ever so good and put quilting clips or pins. In fact, let's do it properly. We put our pin heads facing out. You know I'm going to remove these almost immediately. And really, you want the turning gap on the bottom edge. So it's the edge that's going to be your pocket. So I'll show you in a sec how I know that that's the bottom edge. I'm going to try to be really, really good and put pins in. That'll do. So if you remember, we folded, you can just see it beautifully. We folded that up so we could judge where to put our lace, and our lace is, you can just about see the stitching if I bring it right in. Okay, so I know that my bottom edge is here. Okay, and when that gets turned up like so, it'll be the top of the pocket. Okay, it's top of the pocket. Okay, so you don't have to do this, but we'll do this as a visual. So I want you to stitch from there to there. I'm guessing, what is it, perhaps 3 inches maybe? 3 inches exactly. Okay, so can you see where my marks are? There and there. So you're going to start stitching there all the way around, and you're going to stop stitching there, and that gives you your turning gap. Okay, so let's do it. Let's do it. Oh, I nearly sang. Wouldn't that be awful? Gosh, you'd all turn off in a flash. Oh dear me. Right, so it's 1/4 inch seam allowance or whatever makes you feel comfortable, and we're just going all the way around. I'm being really good because I've got my pin in, I haven't moved it yet. And you can see I haven't got any stabilizer in this whatsoever. Okay, so just as far as you want to go. Sometimes we have to do a bit of a back tack because we might have gone too many stitches into the corner. And look, that pin is not so close, but I'm going to take it out. We don't take risks with pins at all. Not even for a second, not even for a nanosecond. They're nasty little critters. When I was a young mum, I used to stitch at night, almost all through the night. I'd finish stitching probably, I don't know, 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. Depends if I was on a schedule to finish something. And I remember always thinking one day I'm going to get a pin in my eye, because I used to stitch so quickly. I knew one day that I'd get a pin, and I did. The needle broke, but also it broke the pin that was in the fabric, and it went straight in my eye. It was the days before I wore glasses. So in some ways, wearing glasses are a good thing. So look, I'm just going to pink this, and I'm just going to pink into the corner. Be careful, careful, careful. And I don't suppose for a minute it'll happen again. It was a fluke moment in time, but I always had this thing. I suppose I almost wished it upon myself that I would get a pin in my eye or a needle, something. Yeah, it didn't damage it. It just gave me a shock, and I haven't forgotten it. That's how much of a shock it was. So there we go. Let's just hurry along here, because there's something else I want to show you actually. Another way, because this is obviously very traditional and just totally gorgeous, but there's also something else that you could do to make this needle case quite special, and I'm hoping I'll have enough time to at least start it. I probably won't be able to finish it, but it's something that you will all enjoy, and my ladies who join me in the gold group, they've seen me do this a gazillion times, but we never tire of a bit of stitching. So look, all I'm going to do, there's my turning gap. I'm going to turn it through, okay? While we turn it through, I'll just go back to the front screen just for a little while, because it just makes it a little bit more interesting for 5 minutes. So look, there's my piece, okay? I haven't changed it for anything, it's still the same piece. I'm just going to turn it through. and this would really benefit from some spray starch. So I do use a spray starch. It's actually right over the back of my room, but if it was handy, I would possibly spray this with a little bit of starch. It just makes it lovely and crispy, and because it's linen, it really benefits from it. So I'm just using my lovely turning tool just to push those corners out. Now if those corners aren't too pointy, please don't worry about it. I don't want you to push and push and push, because you know what will happen. You'll push whatever it is through the stitching, and then it's a bit of a disaster really, isn't it? You'd have to make it again, or you'd have to take it in a little bit. So there's our piece done. We just need to give it a press, which I'll do. And I'm going to glue my turning gap, because I often talk about it, but I don't often do it. I'm going to get my bigger mat, I think. So let's just get my bigger mat in. And I'm just going to turn this. So I'll tell you what, I'll go over to the other camera, only because there's obviously we've got something going on, so you can have a little look-see. So I'm just rolling those seams out. If you want to, you could use a damp sponge and just wet your fingers. You know what I'm saying, girls and boys. You could just lick your fingers and just get those edges lovely. So we'll see, what you're trying to avoid is a corner that looks like that, because it shouldn't do, because all that fabric in the seam there really should come out. So and you can just see as I don't know, a couple of millimetre stuck in the seam there. So you kind of want to sort of, you know, have a little moment and just stretch it out and make sure that you've got a really nice corner, because they will go like that. Do you see? They go like that. So just give it a moment, give it a little tug, and make sure that it's all beautiful. So let's get going. Let's get going. This is such an easy project. We should have made half a dozen by now. If you haven't made half a dozen, don't worry. It's not compulsory. Not compulsory. Right, so let's get this done. Let's do it quickly. Let's do it quickly. It's not a bad edge. I've seen better, but don't fret. Okay, please don't fret. So there is our turning gap. Look there. You can see it. Now I have got some beautiful textile glue. Okay, now shouldn't really be doing this on my mat, but I will. Be careful with textile glue like this. Gutermann do a good one. Go on to Amazon, see what you can find, and it'll pour out of that if you're not careful. So when you first open it, have something on standby for this to go onto, a scrap piece of fabric or a piece of paper, because it will just pour out of that because you've been squeezing it. Okay, so all I'm going to do, and I'm going to try and do it this way, is a few little dots, and I don't want you to hardly squeeze a thing. I really don't. Now look, you don't have to do this. Honestly, you don't have to do this. You can hand stitch this. You can machine stitch this. I thought it would be interesting because I'm always saying you can glue your turning gap closed. So give it a little pat, and the reason why I do that is that if there is a bit of surplus of glue coming out, I can just pull it away. I can just scrape it away with my fingernail, and it keeps it neat. Okay, now that has stuck. I'll just give my little opening there a press, and that is now stuck together. Okay, just give it another bit of a squeeze, and by the time we fold this up, you won't see, look, you won't be able to see that turning gap. Do you see what that looks like? So the next stage is to turn it up, and those pockets need to be on the inside. So there's your outside and there's your inside. So I think it says 2 inches. Let me have a quick look. Oh, 2 inches, but I'm just going to kind of guesstimate it. Okay, and in the pattern it will tell you that to either hand stitch or machine stitch these side pieces. Okay, now the reason why I've given you a hand stitch option is because your machines might not be able to take all the width of the fabric. So look, when I do this, there's quite a bit of fabric there for you to stitch. I mean, I'll put it under my machine. Excuse me, I'm going to have a little drink in a sec. But I'm going to stitch mine with the machine because it's quick. But when we come to do the smaller one, maybe I'll do a quick ladder stitch so it reminds you how to do it. So let's pop it under the machine. Bring that in. And ideally, I suppose I should do it the way I want to do it. So I'm going to go from the fold up, okay? And that keeps it neat. Otherwise, you can push this out the way. So I'm going to do a couple of back stitches and just make sure it wants to move. There we go. Let's see if it'll move. There we go. Sometimes you need to wait for it to sort of catch and be super neat about it. So just a couple of little back stitches. I don't want you to go crazy, but I want you to make it strong enough. It's got to be strong enough because you're going to be using it, hopefully, you know, almost every day. So there's the first seam done. So we've stitched that. So now we're going to stitch the other side, and I'm going to go from the bottom again and up. So let's little back stitch. Don't need much on that bottom one. And then up to the top. Okay, break our threads. So that's it, nice and neat. There we go. So welcome everybody, wherever you're watching from in the world, what device you're watching with. Maybe you're on YouTube, maybe you're on Facebook, you might even be on Twitter. But welcome to all of you. It's just a little bit of stitching with Lizzy, and I thoroughly enjoy it. And this is Project 21, and it's called Nelly. So there we are. So that's what it looks like so far. And then obviously we need to fold it into the middle, but we need to make the other piece, the other pages, if you like, that will go in there. I've got a few threads that really I ought to try and snip away. I don't think these scissors are very sharp. Look at them. Rubbish. Who gave me those? I did. I've got some lovely snips here. Perhaps I should use snips. Snips are really good. Have you got snips? Has anybody got snips? Because actually, they're really good. And I'll tell you why they're good. Because you can get flat. You can get your snips flat with your threads, which means you cut even nearer to your fabric with snips. They're really, really good. So there's our first little bit done. You don't need to worry about this centre part just yet. We're going to stitch the other page in, and that's what's going to hold it in place. Okay, so our other page is exactly the same. Okay, and we're going to do exactly the same again. So you're going to leave a little gap here and here. So if I better put a pen mark. So we'll just do a little bit of a guesstimate. So there's the pen marks, and we're going to start from here, going to go all the way around, just as we did before. And you could leave one of the short ends open if you want to. But the idea with putting the linen in rather than felt is because you're getting a double layer, if you think about it. So with felt you get just a single layer, obviously, but with the linen or whatever other fabric you use, you're actually getting the two layers, which means that you're getting more what do they say, bang for your buck. Oh, but I've got that wrong. Right, so just round the corner, stop at our other blue line. There we are. So all I'm going to do is I'll use my pinking shears again, and I'll just trim that away. But at least we can have a little chat while I'm doing that. Just find my pinking shears. So how are you doing? Have you had a good week? Have you been anywhere nice? Have you been to the seaside? I'd love to go to the seaside. Have you booked your holidays? Have you been brave enough to do that? Did you do some baking over the holidays? Because obviously in the UK this is our bank holiday. I don't know, obviously it's Easter for everybody, but I don't know if you all have a Monday off like we do. I'm not sure. Perhaps I should Google every country in the world and see what you're up to on a Monday. But maybe it's a special time. Maybe you have a barbecue on this Monday after Easter. I don't know. What do you do? There must be something exciting. Would you meet up with your family? Do you have a tradition? I asked this the other day, and most people said that now they don't really have a tradition. Not for Easter. They probably would do for Christmas time, holiday time, birthdays, things like that. But perhaps not so much for Easter, which is interesting. So I've pinked my edges. I'm just turning through. So let's have a look. Mavis says, I'm going to read this if I can. Mavis says, how are you all? So reply to Mavis. Abigail says, Seb had mum in stitches today. She told him she liked his red jumper. He pointed at it and said, it's 20 quid. It's true. It's true. And then he said to his mum, Abigail, how much were my trainers, mum? And she said, well, I don't think it really matters, Sebby. And I said, Sebby, I love your jumper. He said, yes, Grandma, it was 20 quid. What? Isn't it funny? You just don't know what children are going to come out with. He's such a doll. Such a doll. Yeah, he's such fun. And of course, Abigail is having her whole crafting area revamped this week. I'm so excited for her. It's going to be great fun. I'm just going to find a little pin to pull out my corner. It's going to be great fun because she's going to have a proper crafting space. So she can have her camera set up and yeah, fabulous. Lucky girl. My goodness me. If I could have had that when I was her age, oh my gosh, I would have been in absolute heaven. I think we all would, wouldn't we? If we had a big, well, I suppose I'm lucky now, but this is my job. This is what I do. But yes, as a young lady, an entrepreneur. Yes, yeah, so exciting. So look, all I'm doing is I'm just going to press it. I'm not doing anything exciting, but I'll go to the side camera when I do the ladder stitch, I promise. So I'm just rolling my edges like I did before to get all those seams out as best I can. I'm just going to give it a little press. But I thought we could have a little chat while I'm doing this. See what you're all up to. Have you done anything exciting? Oh, Revi says from Facebook, where can I purchase your iron from? Love your work. Thank you, Revi. Well, you know what? Sometimes my daughter sells them, and that's Avid Crafts. Hi, Millie. Millie's my dog. And sometimes you can get them, if you look on Amazon, it's a Prim iron. But more often than not, Abigail will have them in stock. So, yeah. And I've got quite a few of these. I've got one in a special box for when I go to TV. This one I have on my desk here. I've got another one in a cupboard over there that I take to, well, that I used to take to workshops. So I've got quite a few of them. They're really handy. They get very, very hot. So be careful. I never have them on full. Right, so let's, in fact, in my original Nelly, I've got a needle with thread already in. Let's see, I don't think there's enough. We'll give it a go and see. Let's have a look. Oh, Leanna says she loves her snips. Yeah, they are really good, Leanna, aren't they? And Teresa says she loves them as well. Oh, lots of people saying they love snips. Gluing with Lizzy. Yeah, so you know what? Sometimes it's okay to glue. I give you permission. Right, let's go to the side camera now. And we'll just have a quick look at this ladder stitch, because sometimes people like to be reminded. So all I've got is a single thread here, so a single piece of thread, just about see it, with a knot on the end. And there's my turning gap on my inside piece there, okay? There's my turning gap. So what we're going to do is put the needle up through the fold on the opposite side to me. So let me just do that. Being a bit woolly-handed here. There we go. Right, that'll do. So I've put the needle up through the fold, okay? So it's coming out on the opposite side to me. You can just about see that, okay? I'll just move a bit. So the front view will look a bit weird now for a moment. So there we are, you can see how that looks. So I'm taking the thread to the other side. So I'm coming across to the other side. I'll do this quite big. And I'm just putting my needle down the fold of my fabric. So I've already folded in 1/4 of an inch. And I'm going to then, so I've come out, to be honest, go about 1/8 of an inch. I've done 1/4 of an inch. So from there, you're going across to the other side, into the fold, and just running your needle along that fold. And you'll end up with something that looks like a ladder, hence the name. So then you're hopping across to the other side. Your needle goes right along the fold. And again, you've got another stitch going across. You can probably just see it. Hop across to the other side, run your needle along the fold, and you've got another. And I'm deliberately not pulling those up. Then I'm putting my needle in the other side, running my needle along, and we just continue like that all the way along. Now, as I said, I suggest you do about 1/8 of an inch. I'm doing about 1/4 of an inch, because otherwise we'll be here all night. So you can get the gist of what I'm doing. I'm just going, the needle just goes in the fold. So we're nearly, in fact, yeah, we are at the other end. So I'll just bring my needle out. So that's what it looks like. So you've got something that resembles a ladder, do you see? And then all you do, and I'll try and hold it and do it at the same time, you pull that thread very, very gently, because you only got one thread here, one piece of thread. I suppose you could use double thread if you want to, and just pull that so it's not necessarily tight, but that you've closed excuse me, that you've closed that gap, okay? And it'll need a little iron now. Now that stitching is now invisible, and all I'm going to do is sink my thread into the remaining little piece of fabric there. So just, you will not be able to see this. It'll be, like I say, invisible. So there we are. Just needs a bit of an iron, and then we're done. So let me just do that. Okay, so that's still fairly warm. So to actually put the whole thing together is, in fact, let me just bring that back again. I want you to get your little piece. This is your little piece. This is your big piece. Fold it in half. You can perhaps put that seam at the bottom, fold it in half, bring it over so your edges are meeting, like that, and give it a press, okay? Give it an iron. And all you want is a crease line. So hopefully that's been hot enough to do that. Yeah, look, you can see the crease. On this one, I want you to do exactly the same. So I want you to make sure it's all lying flat. Bring it over. I must admit my iron's not desperately hot now. And then, excuse me, give it a press. Let me just take a little sip of cola. There. And all you're doing is creasing again. So I want you to see that. Oh yeah, look, can you see? You've got a lovely crease. This is by far the easiest thing to do. So that you're laying your second layer on the top, and you're lining up your creases, okay? Then all we're going to do is pop a pin in there. There we go. And I shows this in the pattern. We're not going to stitch from here. We're going to stitch from here, okay? We're going to stitch from the top of that internal piece only, okay? Top to bottom. But make sure you do a nice back stitch, top and bottom. Okay, so, and that's our last little bit of stitching. But then I wanted to show you something else really quick, really quick. So a nice little bit of back stitching. You saw how many times I did that, and it's not very often I will do so much back stitching, but it's important. So again, just nice little back stitches there, and there we have, I'll just get my snips, there we go, beautifully sharp, and there we have our piece put together. Okay, and we've got our pocket secure there, we've got our pocket on the other side as well, beautifully done. And there is our little Nelly. Look, see, rogue threads everywhere. And there's our little Nelly made. And to be perfectly honest, I would steam that. I'd get a wet or a damp cloth, and I would steam it and make sure that's lying absolutely perfectly straight. And then of course you can fill it with all your goodies. So you know, where we had our goodies before, all these things can be stored in there like that. Obviously you can put pins and needles on the front there, whatever you decide. The thing is, it's a nice little size for taking away with you. You could store your pins here, or your special pins. Maybe your Sashiko needles can go in there, and put your points into the centre of the little book, and then it'd be safe. But that's absolutely perfect, and this is perfect for beginners. Do you know what, Diane? I wouldn't recommend a machine because it's such a personal thing. When you can go and try a machine out, then that's the best thing to do. So now we've got two gorgeous Nellies. Aren't they beautiful? So the other thing I was going to show you is this. If you wanted to make your own fabric to create a beautiful Nelly, then get your scraps. Look at this, there's a whole selection of scraps. So what you're going to do is join all your scraps together. Now it doesn't matter that, for instance, those two pieces are not the same size. You can make them fit, because then I'd stitch maybe this one and this one together. So you can start creating your own piece of fabric. Now again, I haven't stabilised this at the moment. I'm just doing your regular bits and pieces, your regular scraps here. And I haven't put wadding in there, I haven't put any stabiliser in there. I'm just using the fabric as it's been cut and put away in my scrap box. And between each of all of these layers, you can actually press this. In fact, I'm going to put my iron on just so we can do that. And start creating some crumb quilting. And my ladies in the gold group know all about this, because we've done this quite a few times now. So where this bit is a little bit a bit wonky, that's fine. Just continue with that, because that's what's going to make it look special. So start building your layers up. And if it needs to be trimmed at some point, then you can trim it. Like now, maybe this bottom piece needs to be trimmed. But what we can do is take another piece and just lay that over the top. And like I say, best if you iron this so it keeps all lovely and beautiful. And slowly but surely you will build up a piece of fabric. But I don't want you to worry. Look at that, see how well it's coming together now. I don't want you to worry about the sizes of your fabric. I don't want you to worry about the different shapes that you might have. So this is a bit of a wonky shape as well. I just want you to stitch them together as best you can. And if bits hang over the edge like we've got here, and I'll show you in a sec, don't worry about it. And if you want to press after each seam, then press after each seam. Do you see how that's starting to form? So now we could perhaps put a piece along here, but I doubt, look, any of these are going to be big enough. So let's make ourselves a piece. So maybe let's try that one and that one together. So you start building up a gorgeous, gorgeous piece of fabric with your scraps. And it's such a satisfying thing to do. And often you'll hear people say, just to warm up with your stitching, so you don't go into stitching cold, do some crumb quilting. You might hear Jenny Doan say that, for instance. She's the most fantastic quilting lady, and she will do crumb quilting to actually warm up. So can you see how that's looking? So now maybe we want to add a piece there, but again, I know that I've got, my pieces really aren't big enough, so I'm going to add another piece to this and build up my, so you can see how they're all different sizes. And also you've got to remember, this is really old Liberty fabric. It's so faded and worn. And so again, we're just going to add that to there. You can see how this is coming together. And this reminds me of when I was stitching when I was a young woman, and I used to make dresses for the most amazing posh places in the world. And of course I did make a dress for Princess Diana, which, you know, that is my claim to fame. So look, now you can see how it's looking. So we can stop there because you can see how it's going. What you would do is that you would make enough, you would keep building and building and building, and you would make enough to recut your piece that you need. So you need a piece, I think it's 8.5 by 6.5. And then what I would do, because this is a very, very delicate Liberty, I would put that onto some stabilizer. So I would glue this down onto some stabilizer, only because this is a very lightweight Tana lawn. So judge your fabric and decide whether that fabric needs stabilizing or whether it needs, it could be left alone. I mean, you could do this with scraps of velvet or scraps of corduroy or needle cord or something like that. I'm going to give this an iron. And then perhaps you don't need to stabilise it, but this is a Tana lawn and it needs to be stabilised. So let me just show you what that looks like. Isn't it glorious? So it's now perfectly ready to make bigger and then cut into it again. And if you look at one of the Making It Monday patterns, it's the little coin purse. I can't remember which number it is, 4 or 5 maybe. I can't remember. But if you look at that Mim pattern, that's been made using crumb quilting. So that might be something that you might be interested in. It's certainly a great way to use your scraps, especially when you've got something that's absolutely gorgeous, like the Liberty. All right. So thank you so much for joining me this evening. We've had lots of viewers. We've got over 400 watching at the moment, so I do thank you. And that's from YouTube and it is from Facebook as well. So Jackie says she tried Add Stitch for the first time on the pincushion. Really pleased with the finish. It does make a difference. Oh, Jane says she bought some snips a while ago and caught her finger. Ouch. Well, yeah, they are pretty sharp. Have to be very careful. Elaine says, thank you very much for doing the demonstration. You're very welcome, Elaine. Quilter's clips could go in. Yes, they could. You could have quilter's clips around the edge of your lovely little Nelly. And Debbie says, wow, a bonus lesson. Look, Debbie, you've seen me do crumb quilting before, surely. I just felt that if you didn't want to do the linen, you could possibly do some crumb quilting. When I've got 5 minutes this week, I'll finish that bit off and I'll show you on the Making It Monday Facebook group what it looks like, because it would look awesome. And I'll just put linen inside. That's all I was going to line it with some other linen inside because I love it so much. And Audrey says she loved doing the crumb quilting purse. It is a lovely project, Audrey. And Patsy said, I'd never thought of crumb quilting for Nelly. There you go. This is why I'm here. And it's a great way of using up their scraps. And to be perfect, I'll be perfectly honest with you. Make your own scraps. They don't have to be actual scraps. Make your own. Just cut strips and then or cut them at slightly different angles. But do use up fabric that you can't think what else you could do with. They don't have to be tiny little pieces, although I know you probably save them. You know, when you cut off corners of things, and I'm trying to think, I'm trying to think of what I cut, that I end up with little triangles. I can't remember. But those sort of pieces, obviously you can keep, and you can crumb quilt all of those, even the little triangles. But obviously you don't want them too small. 1.5 inches is probably as small as I would ever go. Square, 1.5 inches square. That's, what is that? About 3 centimetres square. I'm not very good with metric. So there we are. Oh, Lynn says she's in the dining room and haven't changed the clock. That means she missed it. Sorry, I'm sorry about that. But you can watch it again. You know it's always going to be on YouTube. So thank you very much for joining me. I'm so pleased that our technology worked this evening. I'm so pleased that we all got together and had a little bit of stitching time. If you didn't get a chance to finish or start or finish, start or finish, or even start, or even finish the little Nelly, then please go ahead now and finish it and post some pictures. Next week we've got the most amazing little project. You're going to love it. Certainly Peggy last week, we had over 1,000 downloads. Most of them are free as well, so I'm really pleased that you're taking advantage of that. So Peggy was really popular, so was Poppy, and I think you can just see Poppy over my shoulder there in my lovely old Benina. You can just see Poppy. I don't know where Peggy is. She's probably there somewhere. She's probably hiding. But yeah, and so we'll see. We'll see if next week's beats the record. Anyway, lovely to have seen you. I'm going to sign off now and leave you with my wonderful video to say bye-bye. Bye.